The latest Pompey news, updates every day from the Pompey Sound news desk.
John Messino, after the game, had this to say about where he sees Pompey are at right now.
We have to keep going. We have to find a way now to capitalise on that, not just be a very, very solid side which is picking up points. We work on doing that going forward, but also we have played some of the top sides in the league away from home, so there are really positive signs. To be honest, I will only ever feel we are an established championship side once we're secure in the league in terms of our position. And that's not me just saying it for the sake of it. You can get too carried away both ways, and that's a really important thing from where we are as a football club. We don't want to think we've all of a sudden cracked it because we finished 16th last year with a good run. We've had a solid start to this year, because the league is very tight, the league is relentless, and it catches you very, very quickly. There's 9 points available this week. There will be 9 points available when we go and play Birmingham, Wrexham and Hull, and that makes a huge difference. On the same token, we also need to have the belief that we don't want to be too negative. I don't want to go, it's always about avoiding relegation. I think it is a priority for this year again. I am not saying our ambition is to just do that, we have to be very wary of the dangers there. But we have to push on as much as we can.
It's a complex job he's got, at this moment in time, in striking a balance between being ambitious and wanting to take the club forward, because the fans need to have a sense of momentum, don't we? We need to sense that the club is still in transit, going upwards, getting better, improving, becoming a danger to the top of the table rather than the bottom of the table, and then perhaps becoming a danger to the clubs in the top league. This is the kind of feeling, the sensation that fans want. This is why they pay their money. That's why they expend so much energy and emotion whenever Pompey are playing. Or sometimes on a Saturday afternoon when they're not playing until 7:45 in the evening. It was an odd feeling, wasn't it? And how nice it was as well to see the round of applause, the extended round of applause that was given to the late Milan Mandaric by both sets of fans, obviously, and the players as well seemed to acknowledge that this was a unique owner that is being respected and gave that respect. One other thing that came out in the commentary about the game is that the referee, most unusually, and boy, what a good game he had. He is an ex-professional footballer, one of the very few officials who are former footballers. And it's often been said by those pundits in the studio that part of the problem with refereeing is that they've never really played the game at the top level. And so things that go on between professional footballers, they know little of. They can observe it, but they've never experienced it. How to get a foul when you haven't really been fouled. In fact, how to get a foul when you've been doing the fouling. And little things, clever things like that. Presumably, if you've played the game, then you are at least have a reasonable acquaintance with those things. And that's the ref that we had on Saturday. But back to what John Messino has been saying. He is saying, and he's saying that he's not just saying it for the sake of saying it. His main concern is to avoid relegation at this moment in time. Having done what we've done to 3 of the top sides, 2 sides who have been relegated from the Premier League, and we saw off Southampton effectively. Okay, got 1 point, but it was at their gaff, and we saw them off, and they know that we saw them off. So that's good for our status and our confidence. And then we came and had back-to-back Middlesbrough and then Leicester. And we saw Middlesbrough off completely with passion and with professionalism. And on Saturday evening, we saw off Leicester effectively. In the second half, it looked as though we were the side that might have Premier League players all over the pitch, to quote John Messino back at him. Now, he's got to get the balancing act right because he wants us to be ambitious. He likes the idea of looking at the top of the table. Regan Paul, during the week, said that we are looking at the table above us. And that really is a sign of how far Pompey have come over the last 12 months from where we were last season, really worried that we were going to have to start all over again. Now, we are looking as if we are going to start all over again, looking at the top of the table and wondering how we can get there. Maybe not this season, but soon. And as to quote the last line in Casablanca, but someday soon and for the rest of your life. Oh, it's fun being a Pompey fan, isn't it, always?
Championship outfit Portsmouth are weighing up a January move for Walsall defender Connor Barrett, who has made a great start to life in League Two this season. That's according to journalist Alan Nixon via his Patreon page on Sunday morning, as he reports that the Championship side are keen to add the 23-year-old to their defensive unit in the winter transfer window. Barrett has made an excellent start to the campaign with Walsall, notching up 3 goals and 2 assists in 13 league outings thus far, which has seen Matt Sadler's side reach the summit of the League Two table. The Sadlers are looking to bounce back after their dramatic promotion collapse last season, and losing key players such as Taylor Allen in the summer transfer window. However, the form of their right-back has caught the eye of potential suitors higher up the food chain, and reports suggest that the Midlands club could face a battle to retain him in January. Pompey have made a solid start to their second season back in the Championship, as they sit in mid-table after the first 10 matches of the new campaign, and earned an excellent point on their travels to the King Power Stadium on Saturday. However, reports on Sunday suggest John Mousinho is already eyeing up potential improvements to his squad in the winter, and has identified Walsall's Barrett as an option to come in at the right wing-back position. Barrett has been a standout for Walsall in their excellent start to their League Two campaign, notching 3 goals and 2 assists in his first 13 league outings, and proving to be an excellent modern wing-back, who contributes both offensively and defensively. According to Nixon, Barrett's start to the season has caught the eye of Portsmouth, which saw Mousinho make a personal trip to go and watch the defender recently.
Now, it'd be interesting to know which game it was that John Mousinho went to watch with Walsall playing, and how the connection was made between Pompey and this young man. Barrett is 23, but he's played plenty of games. He's obviously a solid, proper professional footballer who is versatile. This is the key word for John Mousinho, isn't it? Isn't it becoming obvious? You need to be able to play. If you're a right-sided player, you need to be able to play right back, right midfield, and even overlap and get down towards the goal line and do some harm. Either get a decent cross in or get on the end of a cross coming the other way and score a goal. He's played 12 games for Walsall this season and he scored 3 goals. That is not a bad return. I think that's as many as our top goal scorer, who is a forward, an accredited forward. I think, is Segacic still our top scorer with 3? Yang's got 2. I don't know. But anyway, you see the point. This guy can play anywhere on the pitch, presumably as long as it's right-sided. But then if you're right-sided, you can certainly come inside and be a central defender. I beg your pardon, a central midfielder. Versatility, that is everything to John Mousinho. He wants a team of players who've only got 1 or 2 specialists on the pitch. A centre-half is a specialist and a centre-forward, a striker, is a specialist. Although, of course, Colby Bishop, in the tradition of Harry Kane, can get back and defend and play deep and be effective, and can be aggressive playing deep with spraying the ball around. So he's very progressive, he's looking for versatile footballers, and this guy clearly ticks that box. Now, how did they get the connection between him and Pompey? Because Pompey didn't phone up a journalist and say, hey, guess what, we're interested in this bloke with Walsall, his name's Barrett. That didn't happen. What did happen, I suspect, is that somebody was at that Walsall game, and a journalist, and they said, can you tell us whether there are any scouts or any managers of other clubs at this game? It obviously had to be a midweek game, because otherwise Pompey would be tied up with their own game. So it was a midweek game. Walsall were playing. It was probably down south, because if you're the Pompey manager and you want to look at a club because of one player, you don't want to have to do a 400-mile round trip to do it if you can avoid it. So it would have been when Walsall were playing someone in and around London in League Two. So look it up if you want to work it out. And the journalist said, is there anybody here? And they said, yes, John Mousinho's here, the Pompey manager. And they went, aha, who could he be looking at? And of course, John Mousinho wouldn't say if he'd been asked, and I don't suppose he was. But the journalist put 2 and 2 together and maybe got 4, maybe got 5. But the story about us chasing this Barrett boy is all over everywhere. on this Sunday after the Leicester game, and it makes for interesting reading, and it reminds us that the grass is always greener, and anybody we bring in is definitely going to be the next Ronaldo. So the excitement begins about transfers all over again, going parallel with Pompey's very, very, I'm not going to say successful yet, or even impressive, but more than satisfactory start to the season. It can sometimes be interesting to see what the opposition have to say the morning after a game against Pompey, and the Leicester websites and social media. They were, I suppose, predictably cross with their team because they believed that they were so much better than us that they ought to have tanked us. This is what they're saying on a zone entitled Foxes of Leicester.
Today, Sunday, October 19th, I'd like to take a look at the Leicester City squad and how it performed against Portsmouth at the weekend. Unfortunately, Pompey were able to leave King Power Stadium with a point. However, I believe that Martí Cifuentes' Foxes team should have stopped that eventuality from occurring. The Leicestershire side enjoyed enough positive moves on the day and have a better roster in general. Therefore, the 3 points should have stayed on Filbert Way. Alas, that wasn't the case. A 1-1 draw was a bit of a letdown in actuality. As our writer Professor Robert Garner pointed out, 5 championship draws from 6 fixtures is a worrying pattern for the Catalan in charge. You can read the former's match review talking points by clicking here.
Well, I did, but I won't put you through it. It's the usual sob story of some, I'm not going to say bad losers, but less than perfect losers. Mind you, we don't lose well. Nobody likes to lose. And when we lose, there are plenty of moaners on our side. There are plenty of moaners when we win, actually, but we'll come back to that another time. The Leicester lot have it in their heads, and I'll paraphrase what the so-called professor, I believe that's ironic, that title, has to say, which is that they are a better equipped club. They have 6 of the top 10 highly paid players in the Championship. One of their points, which is worth considering, is that they did have a lot of players called up for international duty. And for Pompey, I don't think there was anybody on the pitch who didn't have a full 2 weeks rest and relaxation and training focused on the Leicester game rather than whoever they were playing, Narnia or Moldova or whatever. So 1 or 2 reasonable points made by Leicester fans in their defence of their club, but generally speaking, it was a whinge fest with the guy, the so-called professor. I can tell you, and I'll leave it at this, I won't elaborate. They did have Premier League players all over the pitch, but he scored most of them 4 out of 10 all over the pitch, which is sour grapes.